Welcome to another episode of the Founder to Founder podcast. My name is Aaron Spivak, born and raised in Toronto, Ontario, here in Miami, and I've built multiple 7, 8, and 9-figure brands and recently just had the third largest D2C transaction in Canadian history. But today is not about me, because today you get to listen to another incredible story of the founder behind the founder, and we get to dive deep into what it takes to build something incredible. It's not always the tips and tricks, it's how you go about your life. So join us for another incredible podcast at the Founder to Founder. Today's podcast is sponsored by Sorrel, the one tool that you absolutely need to be using when it comes to influencer marketing. Imagine one tool, not spreadsheets, all these other things to consolidate everything you need. The dashboards, the relationship management, the payments, the performance report, all happens in one spot. It's like having a marketing expert on your team. So today, you can book a call with Sorrel. They'll bring the experts. They'll teach you how to use the platform. And of course, they'll make sure that you get the most bang for your buck. They've got a free trial. So just go test it out. See if you like it. They're a great sponsor of the pod. Check out Sorrel. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have Jason Wong, a fellow Canadian, but most importantly, a man who has figured out the number one thing for any CPG D2C brand, and that's the packaging. So if you've ever been wondering what is behind the packaging, who creates this, it's probably Jason. Jason, welcome to the podcast, brother.
Thanks for having me. I'm super stoked for this.
So just for people to get some context, Jason and I, we've been in the same space for, I don't know what, like 7 years maybe.
Yeah.
The brand side for a long period of time. And we actually hosted the first ever, before the Founders Club was even a thing, a dinner
In Toronto.
And it was your idea. You know, I tell people this all the time.
I appreciate it. I was like, yo, Aaron, you should definitely just take this and fucking run it in Canada.
You were one
did
of the
it
OGs.
so much better. You did it 1,000 times better.
Oh, dude,
So
I
happy to
appreciate
see
that.
it.
That was a good time. I was like, wait a second, people actually want to come together. And it was like your inspiration of like, wait a second, like founders are all alone all the time. Why don't we give them an excuse to come together, share some more stories, some resources? But enough about that. What I want to know is I want to get right into it. You know,
let's do it.
As being in the physical product world myself, it's been a nightmare when it comes to packaging. And I always misunderstood how it's actually done.
Right.
For me, it was always like I wanted a black box for Hush. And then they would, you know, put black on like corrugated, and then it would like leak through, and I would have like soft spots, and I had to learn like, no, you got to do like a white first, then put the black on the white, like things like that. Tell me how you even got into this in the first place.
I've been running my own brand since I was 15, 16 years old. And the thing that I got most excited about was not the marketing or operation. It was actually on the packaging design. Like I wanted to make something so cool that people collect it. And so I was obsessed about it when I was running my own brands. And after I left them, I was like, what is the one thing that I think I'm really good at, I can make money from, and I'll love to wake up and do every single day? And somehow it brought it back to packaging. So I took the money that I made for the last few years, went to China, and I bought a piece of the factory that we've been working with for the last few years. We like the quality, we know the people, they're like family. So I said, hey, what if I can just triple your business? They're like, how are you gonna do that? Well, right now you're going to expos, you're going to conventions, you're doing all these stuff to get clients. I'm just gonna make short form videos to get demand. So I started making videos about how packaging is made, how much things cost. We're getting 8 to 10 million views a month on LinkedIn. And through that, we're just getting so much demand that we can work with multiple factories and leveraging that to go to factories to negotiate, getting a piece of it.
And when it comes to like as a brand, when we think about design, now that you're on the other side of it, you're seeing the back end of things. What is one thing that you've learned that like the best brands do versus the brands that just kind of never make it out? Like what do the top brands always do when it comes to packaging?
The best brands think more than just design. They think about user experience, but they also think about cost. There's a fallacy of going too wide and trying to make too complex of a packaging, trying to make packaging that can fit 5 different products when you should just have one universal box that you can swap different modular components of to save on money. So instead of buying 3 different bags that can fit 1 item, 2 item, 3 item, you should get 1 bag that can fit 3 items and then fill the rest with air or padding or whatever if you need to ship just 1 product.
That's so interesting. So we know you're an incredible entrepreneur, but we want to scale things back. I want to go back to where this all started for Jason. I know you're Canadian too. Tell me, you know, when did you learn that you were an entrepreneur, and where did it all start for you?
I'll first say I'm like a partial Canadian. I lived in Canada for a few years. I like to claim I'm Canadian when I feel like people really like Canadians more. I'm a situational Canadian. But I spent my high school years there. I really thought I was going to be a doctor.
Wow.
Up until I was 16. And it's not because I like being a doctor or I care about medicine or care about helping people. Now, this sounds kind of bad. I just thought, what is the one job to get my family out of the hole? You know, we came to America when I was 8, living in a 1-bedroom apartment with just my mom and I. And we had to work. I was working in restaurants. I was chopping vegetables. I was busting tables at 8, 9 years old, all the way up until I was 16. And I was doing all this thinking that if I just work hard enough, I can go be a doctor and make money for my family. So there wasn't really a passion in that. I just wanted to make money. So around the time I was 16 years old, I got introduced to blogging by one of my friends in high school. And he's like, yo, you can make these blogs, write content online, run affiliate offers, and make money from there. So I started my own blog, started making $100 a day, $150 a day. Eventually running different offers for supplements, for surveys, and making 20, 30K a month as a little kid. So that
like
gave me
in high school, you're making $20,000, $30,000 a month running affiliate offers.
Dude, we could do Google ad clicks through blogs because you can just click right through the articles, right? We were running affiliate offers for fashion companies. We were running affiliate offers for diet pills, supplements, and whatnot. I was a kid just trying to take whatever offer I could get.
Wow.
And I took that money to start my first e-com brand around 16 years old. It was like a t-shirt company. That did pretty well, got me enough to pay for my mom, pay for myself, move myself to LA.
Wow.
And so that's kind of how I started.
You know, was there a point when, you know, like I guess the narrative at home might have been around like, hey, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a doctor. Next thing you know, I don't even know, like my parents would not have understood. What are you doing online? You're selling someone else's stuff, but you're buying traffic, you're finding arbitrage, you start making money. Was there a certain point where like at home you had to go to like your mom and be like, hey, listen, like I'm making real money with this thing. This doctor thing is not going to happen. Did you drop out?
I didn't tell her. I didn't tell her what I was doing until I made money. Like once I had the money withdraw to PayPal, it's all I had. I even have a bank account. Wow. I was withdraw to PayPal on my mom's name. I was 16, right? I couldn't open any of these accounts. Withdraw to her account and she's like, what is this? And I started explaining to her, this is what I do. This is like marketing. When you see an ad, there's people getting paid for that. And she eventually understood, but I still didn't drop out. I didn't drop out until I hit my first 10K day. I remember it was December 3rd, 2016. I was in class, about to take my finals.
In university or in high school?
First year of uni.
First year of uni, yeah.
And I was
in Toronto?
I was in California at the time.
Wow.
This is when I launched my coloring book. I had a coloring book called the Holy Meme Bible. And Shopify did a whole profile on this because in 10 days, I think I did $250,000 with no product. It was just a Photoshop of what the product looks like. It's basically a coloring book of the best memes and trends of the year. So like think about like coloring in Donald Trump or like Follow the Maze or like Hangman.
Genius.
Of pop trends. So I started that. I Photoshopped a picture of the book, put it on the Tumblr blog, and it went viral. Just boomed, right? And first day did 4K, second day did 7K, third day did 9K, and I had no inventory, literally none.
You didn't even make this book. You told me you just had a. It was a concept.
Yeah, just to see if it works.
It worked.
It worked. So I took that money and I went to nearest print shop. At this point, it's like December 6th. They're about to close shop. I basically had 5 days to print, 8,000 books and ship it out of my apartment. I'll show you after this a picture of me shipping books out of my bedroom. It was crazy. Goodness. And that's when I'm like, okay, I can drop out because whatever money I just made right now, I have at least a year of time to, work and see if this concept works or not.
And then, so you go from this success did you just like double down and say, I'm going to make more of these? Or was there a point where you're like, hey, maybe this is not sustainable. Let me move into something else. Like at what point did you either A, double down or B, realize you have the skills, but you want to apply it to something else?
I did 5 more years of that.
Straight.
Every single year around October, I would publish a book, and it's a perfect gift because it's basically a yearbook of the entire year's trends, right? So I can't really launch a lot of iterations within the year, but every single year, the next October, November, December, we sell.
It's almost like the what do you mean like meme card game
we started around the same time.
Around the same time.
Yeah, we also had a meme board game where it's like you wear a headband, you have a card here, and you have to act out what it is. We had that. We had a bath bomb company. Like it says send nudes on the bath bombs. Dude, we had some crazy stuff. I made a condom before.
No way.
That looked like chicken ramen noodle packets. You know, like how the condom wrappers look like seasoning packet.
Yeah.
So I saw that meme. I was like, that's fucking genius. So I went to a condom factory and I was like, yo, keep whatever you guys are doing for the product itself. Just let me change the packaging. And I brought it in.
Wow. And how old were you at the time?
I think I was 19 at that point.
So at 19, you were already alluding to like, I can make a difference with the packaging.
Yeah.
Right? You were already saying, wow, I can take something generic like a condom, but make it fun, make it exciting, make it memeable.
That was fun for me, like thinking about shit like that. It wasn't like running ads. We didn't even know how to run ads. We just knew how to make headlines. We depended on going viral. I literally didn't know how to run a Facebook ad.
And so, I mean, this is interesting because, you know, if you're listening to this, Jason, even now till today, has always, at least to me, like just being in your ecosystem for so long, no matter what it was, whether it was Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook, you've always, or TikTok, you've always found a way to find arbitrage on those platforms and go viral. And now listening to kind of where you started at 16, whether it was on Tumblr and going viral on these pages, whether it's driving traffic, you've been in the game for a long time.
It's been a minute.
Right?
11 years.
11 years. You've been in the game for a long time. So walk me through it. You're basically a meme legend, creating yearbooks for people, all these ancillary products around it. Was there a certain point where it ended? And if it did, like, when did it end? When did you decide that you were going to go and do something else?
I think it ended around 2019, 2020. I just started selling the company. So it was a meme product company. Just sold the company and then went on to start Doe Lashes. The whole concept for Doe Lashes was really just for me to have a project. I didn't mean to make money from it. I didn't meant for it to be anything serious. It was just like, can I start a company of $500? It was a challenge to myself. I didn't even video. I didn't document it except on Twitter. And that's, I think, how I got that audience was I started documenting my entire process of building a company from scratch with $500 just to show that I could. And then eventually, you know, helped me with gaining an audience on Twitter. That's how we met. And it all rolled into the next things.
So what is, you know, like you mentioned you know, pretty early on. Were you always doing this alone? Who were you doing this? Was it friends? Was it family? Like, talk to me about your circle at the time. Because as a young entrepreneur, it's like being an entrepreneur in general, no matter how old you are, it's an extremely lonely process. It's one of the reasons we created the Founders Club, so for people who can be around each other. But at 16, 19, 20, 21, it's virtually impossible to find like-minded people because everyone's partying it up, living the life. You're doing this off the beaten path thing. Who was there with you? Was it family? Was it friends? Like, talk to me about your circle.
I want to work with friends. I want to help friends, you know, get a job. So I started hiring them at my jobs. You know, I couldn't build any of this alone. I would say for the most part, I'm the person with the vision. I'm in the weeds doing it, but I always make sure that I can bring in a homie in here. You'll help me with this. Give you an office space. You can work on your own side project. We can help you with this too. So when I say we, it's really a collective of all my friends over the years, not just a single person, but like whenever I feel like we can work on something together, I bring them in, let's do it. And for me, that's fun. You know, I want work to be fun. You know, I didn't choose this life so that I can have my own little corporate sandbox. Right? Like I don't want a corporate workspace. We do this stuff because we're like, we want to create the workspace that we want to work in. Like we want people to show up and be like, yeah, I want to work for Aaron because it's fun. It's exciting, right? And being able to do that with my friends is really, really good.
Where do you think that like comes from? Like where'd you learn that? Was it just like by accident? And you're just like, you know what, this is kind of fun? Or where did you first learn that you wanted to do this with your friends? I think it was just
all my life. I've spent most of my time with friends over family for different circumstances. I didn't really grow up with my parents. So when my mom and I came to the US, we were just making ends meet, working at different relatives.
You came just you and your mom?
Yeah, just me and her. Eventually she remarried, moved to Canada, and I stayed behind, continued school. So I lived in like a garage. I was in a garage at my relative's house.
You lived in the garage? You're like, your mom's like, I'm going My mom, your mom's like, I'm going to Canada, I'm remarrying. You're like, great, I'm going to stay.
Couldn't take me with her. You know, it was very complicated, right?
Wow.
Like you meet someone new and she wanted to find someone that to start a family with. And so I stayed behind. There was no room for me. So I lived in the garage. Never really talked about this because it's like so far back, right? But I think it was there.
How old were you?
I think I was 12.
Wow, 12 years old, living in like one of your relatives' garage.
Yeah, they makeshift garage, kind of like a studio. You can build little flex walls here with the light.
Oh, you got the AC?
Yeah, there was AC.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But I think it was there when I had that fire under my ass of like, you need to make it out of here, right? It was really a transformative years for me, working, like going to school at 7, getting off school at 2, going to work from 2 to 9, and then coming back home and just, I had to grind. And so I learned the internet. I had a laptop. I learned everything I could about marketing. I was marketing on forums. I was marketing on Facebook pages. I was like, I need to make some money. So now I wake up, I love what I do. You know, like, you know, I could truly say I busted my ass to get there.
It's one of those things, you know, that I think about a lot when we talk about like nature versus nurture. Was it, you know, the people you grew up around? Was it your circumstances? And so many of the most like incredible entrepreneurs that I meet, like yourself, it's like you had a choice. I mean, at 12 years old, it's extremely young, but you had a choice to just be one of those guys that sits there and sulks and eats whatever and video games or whatever. I'm sure we gamed at some point. Yeah. But you flipped the script and said, you know, I'm going to use this as a motivation. I'm going to use this as a flame. And that started at 12 years old.
You know, I think these like stories that you guys share at the Founders Club, it's very meaningful. It's very impactful for a lot of other people like me. You only really realize how high the ceiling is when you walk into a room that had that big of a ceiling, right? And so for the longest time, I grew up thinking making $80,000 a year was great. Making $150K a year was amazing. And it is still an amazing salary, but like in certain cities, that's barely scraping by. But I thought that was like the greatest thing ever until I started meeting more people by chance encounters. Oh, you run a business, you run an HVAC business, you make $1 million a year. Oh, you can actually make $1 million a year. Now that's my new ceiling, $1 million a new ceiling. Then I start meeting another person making $5 million a year. They run this huge fashion company. Boom, my ceiling's now much higher. And so going back to your first question, why do I like working with friends, is because I grew up around people who supported me. So I'm like, I need to take care of them back, right? The next thing is I realized so much more of what I can do by putting myself into rooms where I have the chance to meet people way bigger than me. And that's really why I moved out of Toronto. Love Toronto, but the ceiling was too low for me. Everyone around me in high school was like, yo, I'm gonna work in Big Four. I'm gonna be a consultant. I'm gonna work for the government. Great jobs. We need every one of these jobs, but that's not me. You know, I cannot stay focused in school. I have severe ADHD. I just need to do shit, right? And so as soon as I hit 18, I can sign my own apartment. I moved to LA.
Wow.
With, I think, $15K I saved up from running the affiliate stuff, paying my mom and whatnot. I have $15K saved, moved to LA, rented a 1-bedroom for $800, and then started grinding from there.
Dude, you know, this is one of the reasons we started the podcast, because, you know, I want to get into like what you're building now, what is so special, but it's so important for people to realize that like you were just like them, you know, and so much of why I encourage people to tell their stories is because what you're alluding to is like when you meet someone that is at a different level that you didn't even know was possible, and you hang out with them a little bit, you kind of think to yourself, well, there's not so much different from that person to me. We're kind of the same. Yeah. And then you start to believe it's possible. But one thing that's important, and it's actually a very natural question, is along this journey, you know, from leaving 18, signing an apartment, risking basically everything you've built to date, do you think there was a part of yourself that you had to sacrifice to become the entrepreneur you are today along the journey?
Absolutely. There's so much you have to sacrifice. But I've learned that it's a right balance. You know, in the beginning, I was like, I will not see people. I will not go out. I'm just gonna go monk mode.
Sometimes it's what it takes.
And I think at a very first beginning, you need that. You need to learn that. And then you learn discipline where you're like, okay, I can still have a relationship. I can still call my mom. You know, it's not like I have to shut everyone out. But the very first year, I'm like, I need to prove myself so I can go back out and say, hey, I kind of made it. But in terms of sacrifices, you sacrifice your health. You sacrifice sometimes not being present in a relationship because you're just thinking about work. But I'll say that the right partner that you find will be absolutely fine with you doing that. You know, like my current girlfriend, she understands that if we're on a date and I have an emergency call from one of my team members, I have to pick that up. But there's a lot of people out there that will be like, why would you interrupt our date? Why would you do that? They don't get it. And you can't have that in your life if you're an entrepreneur. So right partner, man.
It's
huge.
like the DNA of it all, and almost like the strain on a relationship that the entrepreneurial journey has. Because it's very much like a roller coaster. Some days you're like, let's go travel, let's do this, let's do that. And then like you have no idea the next morning you have a bomb waiting for you on your phone that derails that entire plan.
Right.
If you don't have the right partner, it can certainly put a wrench in all that because now you feel the stress.
And I was telling them, listen, I can either be a guy that works 9 to 5 and we get, you know, 1 vacation a year. We'll probably eat out once a month. But I'll be off work at 5 and I'm all yours. Would you want that? Or we could fly wherever we want. We take vacations 4 times a year. We eat out whenever you like to, buy whatever you like to. We don't have to stress about money. But the caveat is that I might not be as present throughout the day, but I promise to always give you set amount of hours. And I'll do my best to make it to all the important dates. But you have to understand when circumstances arise, I have to be there. And if you're okay with that, I'll give you everything else that comes with that. And that filters out a majority of people.
That's incredible. I would say that like the superpower in that is also knowing who you are, right? Sometimes life and situations forces us to like morph. We try to fit the room.
Right.
And if the room is, you know, going one way, we try to fit it. And I always find that the most powerful and also the most authentic entrepreneurs are the ones who just know who they are. And by virtue, you actually attract the right energy your way.
Yeah.
Like the right people actually come your way. You don't have to always remind people, no, this is who I am. This is who I am. It's kind of the people that don't vibe with you will kind of leave you. But those who do will come to you. And that comes from in relationships, both intimate ones or business ones or friends. They kind of like your vibe attracts your tribe, they say, you know?
You have to be secure. You have to be confident. You have to be secure. I think earlier on in my career, I definitely have imposter syndrome, and not to say I don't have it anymore, but I had a lot of imposter syndrome. I don't know who I wanted to be. I just knew I want to build shit. But you know how it is. You go through the circuit. There's so many groups of people. You're like, am I this guy or am I this guy or am I this guy? Which one do I fit in more? And especially as like a kid who grew up as a new kid in school often, you have to learn how to be a chameleon and morph into what is socially acceptable. Now I feel like I'm at a stage right now, and I feel like you, after seeing you for the last few years, you're at a place where you're comfortable. You're like, I did that shit. I am him. I know. So like you have such a solid identity, right? And and I feel like I'm getting to that point where like I know I'm capable, I am secure, and I don't need to be anyone else but me.
I think the underlying message in that is so important. And like I want to kind of reiterate for a lot of people who are kind of listening to this. There's a famous hockey coach. His name is Mike Babcock. He used to coach the Maple Leafs. People don't like him anymore. He's been, you might remember him. He's been around for a while. He had a tough leaving, but he's coached Team Canada. He's won gold medals and Stanley Cups and all that stuff. And he has a very famous line, a post-interview, where he goes, you have to earn your confidence. And then the reporter's like, I don't understand that. Like, you're either confident or you're not. He's like, no, you got to earn your confidence. You got to do things every single day for a long period of time to the point where you are confident. You have that within yourself. You've earned it. No one else can give it to you. No one can come to you and be like, Jason, you're a great entrepreneur. You've had a lot of success. At the end of the day, you might feel good for a minute, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. But when you get home, it's just you in the mirror. You know the truth.
Right.
And over a long period of time, I guess myself, after 10, 11 years, I don't care what necessarily other people think. I have my body of work. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. And I said that relationship with myself, I know where my confidence lies. I know where I want to improve. And it's kind of the journey. And then that's why in the beginning, I tell people sometimes you got to lock yourself in the room and go deep. You got to have that fire under your ass. You got to be that 12-year-old saying, I'm going to make it happen. Sometimes you need that conflict to find out who you are.
Right.
Sometimes you need to go toe to toe. You know, we say in hockey, like, I remember my old coach when I was 16, I was really frustrated with one of the players on the other team. And he was like, stop bitching about it. And I was like, well, fuck that guy. He's like, yeah, well then go do something about it. Like, just stop talking. If you're mad at him, go do something about it. Otherwise, I don't want to hear it.
Right.
And it's like an analogy for life. If you don't like where you're at, if you don't like your relationships, if you don't like where your business is,
Yeah.
just go do something about it.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you. I know so many people who I grew up with, maybe in the same circumstances, my high school friends from those areas. And they're just like, well, life sucks and I'm just gotta let it suck right now because that's just how life is.
Oof.
And I'm like, dude, no, just get out of your hometown, leave your hometown first and foremost, meet some people that inspires you and figure out how to help them so they can help you, right? I moved myself from Toronto to LA, one-way ticket, and I started going to conferences like these, to the ones that you guys host, to the dinners. And I'm like, I'm gonna insert myself in a conversations where I'm the absolute smallest guy in there. And I want to do that until I get to a point where I'm no longer the smallest guy. And then I move on to another group. And so you go from me not knowing anyone to me knowing some guys who are now doing $1 million a year, to people who are doing 5 a year, to people who are doing 10 a year. Wow. And you just keep learning, you keep absorbing, but at the same time, know how you can help them. So I was doing a lot of free work in the beginning. I was just trying to be like, yo, let me give you value and hopefully I can learn from you. And you have to grind yourself into that level. The only person that can change your life is yourself, because you might be able to put yourself into a situation where you meet one person that can change your life. It only takes one person. And I was very fortunate to find a couple of those people in the early years who gave me the mentorship, the guidance, just telling me what to do and what to look out for. That saved me so much money, so much effort. You have to put yourself out there.
Was there one person that you met along the way that changed really everything for you?
Yeah. 2019, October, I met this girl in a house party. It was a house party of founders. I was just someone's plus one. My friend runs a newspaper company, so he's like, yo, I'll bring you as my plus one to this Newport Beach house party where a bunch of founders are. And I didn't know what to expect. Everyone there is dressed in ties, black pants. I'm in a t-shirt and jeans. The founder of Vizio was there, founder of Twitch was there.
Wow.
Early employees of Facebook, like just a bunch of big tech guys, and then me and another girl who was not dressed in a black tie. She was dressing in a costume. And I made contact with her and I realized that she's Michelle Phan, the first YouTuber on earth to make makeup videos. She was the queen of YouTube. Wow. And at that time, I just started Doe Lashes. I was like, yo, let me pitch you what I'm building. She loved what we're building. She loved our product. And she just gave me the next few years of her life, just teaching me how to build a really great brand. Wow. And she gave me connection. She built Ipsy, $1 billion company, a makeup subscription company, and then exited that. So for her to give me her time when she didn't want anything in return but just to help me, made me want to do the same thing for everyone else that I'm meeting.
These people, they come out of nowhere. Yeah. And I feel like almost everyone we've had on the podcast or that I meet, I always ask this question, I'm like, has there been one? And almost always there's some one person that believed in you, maybe even before you fully believed in yourself.
That's it.
And sometimes it's that one person who you like kind of say your idea and you're like, you're giving that founder confidence, but like in your soul, you're like, she's about to rip me apart, you know? And she goes, oh, well, that's great. And you're like, oh my God, really? You think it's great? I actually didn't know. And just that is enough of a spark of momentum. It's enough. It's like a 365-day energy shot. Yeah. That you could, just all it takes is someone else to believe in you. And it's amazing to me just how many successful founders have this in their life. It's almost like the beauty of the ecosystem.
And you almost want to pass it back down. You know, like I was 20 when I met her, and she's 10 years older than me. So she has 10 years of wisdom and knowledge of building $1 billion company and exiting that I would never learn in an MBA, maybe through a case study, but not do like a very personalized guidance of, okay, now you're running into this trouble, here's what you should do. You're running into lawyers issues, let me give you my lawyer. These connections take so much time to build, yet if one person's willing to give that to me, I feel like I should pass it on whenever I meet someone. And that's really what drives me. Like, I love helping people. I love coming to these shows and talk about it because one, I wish I knew someone was like that when I was younger, right? Like I wish I knew someone who started from a place where they're also at. Oftentimes you hear founder stories and it's like, I went from 1 to 2. Imagine being from -5. Yeah. Right? And And now I love doing these shows. I love having these conversations because it's fun to look back.
Yeah, and also what you're describing for a lot of people is actually not luck. And some people are like, oh, I want to meet my own version of a person that's going to help me. And it's like, well, we all know that we're one conversation, one person away from the next level of our life. But what you actually described was showing up despite all of the stories that you tell yourself. You just said you're in a room of people that are way more accomplished, way more successful. They're in a completely different industry.
Yeah. But
you still said, you know what, I'm going to come. I'm going to show up. And I tell people that all the time. You know, sometimes I tell people, hey, I'm inviting you into a room that you have no business being in. And they find every excuse for why they can't be in that room. And then I'm like, okay, well, as you know, I can't drag you here.
Yeah.
But very similar to yourself, I would do that all the time. I remember I snuck backstage to Gary Vee when he came to Toronto in the Sony Center. I'm like, I'm getting in. I paid the guard $20. I was in the back room. I was like, Gary, I got a question. You know, everyone thought I was crazy. And I was just like, I don't know how else to do this. I'm 19 years old. Like, why else would he listen to me? But it was in those moments that you kind of create your own luck.
Yes.
You have the balls to be like, I'm going to pitch this person.
Yeah.
I got nothing, but I'm going to pitch it anyways.
It's about the rooms that have the biggest upsides for you and being in that room. And you have the choice to be in that room or not. Right? You have to find different ways to just increase your luck. It is lucky, but you have to increase your odds of hitting that luck.
Exactly. You got to play. One thing that I want people to know if you're listening to this is that Jason is an incredible brand builder. You've built so many brands. And now on the packaging side, you're kind of involved with so many brands. And you get to be a part of that process because I'm obsessed with packaging. Even we did the packaging for the Founders Club, like even that, the welcome package, I'm like obsessed with every single detail of it because for me, it's, you know, the most important part. It's the beginning of the experience. Like I remember, I don't know if it was Amazon. You might know this. There was a company that, it's Apple.
Okay.
The noise of the suction, right? Tell me about that. You know, tell me about the most impressive packaging and how detailed the big guys get into it. Just so people understand how obsessed that, I don't know if I'm at this level, but how obsessed you should be about the little details.
Apple's level is always the benchmark. A lot of factories can't do it because of how insanely complex it is. The paper that they use is a patented type of paper that they source from Europe. Not just your regular paper that you and I put our boxes in. It's literally patented, scientifically made to create a certain experience.
Wow.
It's a European brand. The factory's temperature is tightly controlled. The humidity is tightly controlled at a certain level. Like they do not let any defects fly. And that just goes to shows like Apple's precision, right? Like their box is going to cost 2-3 times more than your and I's box. However, most people don't throw away their Apple box, right? Most people keep their boxes.
Why do I keep the box?
It's just too nice to throw away. So yes, they're paying 2-3 times more than you and I, right? But they basically bought a billboard in your room by your shelf to be there for forever until you buy the next iPhone. But you're not gonna throw the old box away. You're gonna stack your new box into your old box.
So true.
You're paying them to advertise in your home. That's the power of packaging, like a really good packaging, like Aesop soap, right? You want to flex that you have Aesop soap or Byredo or Le Labo, like these $60, $70 hand soaps. You want it to be on a counter, right? You don't want to hide it in like an Amazon Basics bottle as a refill. You want to build these packaging that stands out because people want the prestige of having it. Or sometimes it's just too nice to throw away.
Do you think, first of all, I really want to hear about the most, because I've seen some of your most viral videos where you just pick apart insane packaging. So I'm curious what is the most insane and incredible packaging that you've seen? And I want to learn a little bit about it. But the second part is a brand that's maybe not a $1 trillion company like Apple. What is like the 2 things that they should focus on that they can just like get those boxes and it's worth it? It's worth the extra money. They got to have it.
I think a great unboxing experience matters a lot. And obviously it's easy to say that. Unboxing experience is from the moment that they cut open the tape on the box all the way to them taking the products out. What is that process? What is that journey? And it isn't just on the design, but obviously there's a visual design of you telling the story on your box and telling people what they want to know in order to have a higher affinity to your product. Like when you buy a diet supplement and the box says, Can't wait to see you again in 30 days. Show us the new you, you know, like having that conversation, being like, yo, like, congrats on getting into this journey. Come see me in 30 days to show me your results. Interactions like that. Unboxing experience also comes with like how the inserts are made. Do you just put tissue paper there, or do you have like actual cutout holes for each of the products? And there's also the feel of the packaging. Do you just want to use a cheap paper, or do you want to use a really premium paper? It's like a cheap, thin t-shirt versus like a thick t-shirt. You know the difference. You can feel the difference. I think the best one that we've worked on was Starbucks gift boxes. When they do their seasonal gift boxes, they come in limited edition boxes, and sometimes you can fold like an origami.
Ooh,
like the packages can fold up.
There's a purpose to the packaging.
Yeah, or there's certain boxes that we've made where there's a cutout, and if you shine a light over it, it creates shapes, like shadow shapes.
Wow.
They literally cut it out. You just have to peel it off, put lights over it. There's some really cool stuff where you can have features like functions, designs, and also the aesthetics of it. I think those are the best packaging.
Wow. I had I remember we were working with like a really large packaging designer.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I think it was the designer. I was like trying to like cheap out on something. I was like, no, make it smaller. We don't need that. And she was like, is there anything else that you send to your customer that has 100% open rate? And I was like, I don't know. I'm like, check the email, check the ads, you know, like check everything. And she's like, this is the only thing that you send that has 100% open rate. And it blew my mind.
That is such a good copy. I'm going to steal it.
You're going to steal that?
That is so freaking good.
Yeah, because I was like trying to cheap out. She's like, why don't you cheap out on something else? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you're trying to save like $1. You know, like save $1 on an order on something else.
Yeah.
So, you know, let's cheap out on the tape. Let's cheap out on the label. Let's cheap out on, you know, figure out something else to cheap out on. Pull back your ad spend by like $1 per CPA if you could. But don't cheap out on the one thing that's it's guaranteed to get open.
Yeah.
And I forget the statistics, but she was able to share statistics around they A/B tested packaging, and the control versus the one that ended up doing better actually led to a lower return rate. And that blew my mind because it's the same product,
Right.
but a significantly lower return rate because of the packaging. And that sold me. I'm like, okay, 100% open rate and get less returns. Like it's worth the extra money. It's just hard to determine where to invest those dollars. And some people assume make it a matte finish or, you know, maybe put the cutouts. Is there like one thing that you would tell people, no matter what you do, don't cut back on? Like this is the one component of your packaging that you should invest into. There's
actually 3 ways to make money from packaging. One is saving money, 2 is making money, and I'll go into what I recommend for people. Packaging is one of those things where if you are able to shave down the weight to a certain level without compromising on the structural integrity, you can actually save a lot of money in shipping. A lot of people are actually overusing packaging. That's one thing. So like cut to where you think it's absolute essential, and then take out any waste. It's like F1 cars. They're cut down all the way to what they absolutely need and nothing extra, because you need to save money on freight, especially during this time, right? So that's number 1, knowing how to design your box in a way where it has the structural integrity without compromising on weight. Number 2 is using the box as a engagement tool. A lot of people don't use the big building space, right? Like you're saying it has 100% open rate. That is a dream come true for any email and SMS marketers. Why don't you have any offers on your packaging, right? Scan this QR code to get $5 off your next order, or refer a friend right now and scan this QR code. You can literally just get another client. So yeah, you might spend a little bit more money printing an extra color to get that going, but the second order effect of getting an extra client through a referral link or getting them to buy the next product makes a lot of sense. And the third one is having a packaging that's so pretty that people have to post about it. And that's something that the Avi guys actually told me recently. They launched a great collection of product for burn collagens. And there's a time when they're seeding these products out to influencers, and there's a time when they see it influencer stuff with our boxes that we made for them. And they said that they saw a tremendous lift in people posting the video because the packaging that they came in was a lot better than what they had previously. So imagine this, you're spending so much money sending boxes out to people, right? Every single box costs you $8-10 to ship. and then plus $1 or $2 for the box. If you send 100 of those out and you can change the percentage of people who post a video for you by 15-20%, there's literally money that is being converted back into revenue.
It's such an important point. It's like, you know, instead of trying to save the few dollars on the actual packaging, actually take a few minutes or hours or days to think, okay, we're going to spend money on packaging regardless. Like at the end of the day, we can only cut so much.
Yeah.
How do we make sure that we get the most out of it? And that has way more ROI than whatever you're going to save. It's hilarious because that's the same way I think about product, the same way I think about brands, the same way I think about the Founders Club in general. It's like, all I care about is like, how much more value can we drive for the members? Irrelevant if you can save here or add there. It's like, at the end of the day, the product's got to be exceptional. And if it is exceptional, it'll deliver.
Yep.
And then everything else will kind of, you know, you can optimize in some way, shape or form. But again, eventually you become Apple and you patent and you get your paper from one side of the world because you have the volume, et cetera. But it's important to know, it's like, hey, this is, although a part of the experience, a part of the product, it's marketing, it's the hype, it's the excitement. I have to call this the moment.
Yeah.
Like that moment, I look forward to. Like sometimes I get an Amazon package at my door or something and I'm like kind of tired and like the guy delivers like sometimes super late here. And I'm just like, I'm gonna get up and get it. Yeah, I gotta see it. I know what's inside, but I gotta see it. I gotta see it, you know? And I'll like rip it and I'm like, all right, good, I saw it.
Everyone is addicted to that feeling.
It's crazy, right? Like that tear, that little like, oh, like,
dude,
wow.
People are just wired to like trigger reward, right? That rip, it's almost addicting.
Dude, if I can sit and just open boxes all day,
be an influencer.
I would, honestly. You know, and I see them complain about all the boxes they have. I get the cardboard parts annoying. You have to throw it out after.
Yeah.
But that's absolutely fantastic. One thing I wanted to kind of bring up is, you know, success is interesting because it does change you in some way, shape, or form. It changes the way we look at things. And I remember right before we sold the company, I was like, I'm never going to change. Then we sold it. I'm like, I moved back to my mom's basement. I'm like, I'm never going to change. I'm never going to. That lasted like 6 months. And I started changing. And at what point, like, did you feel that, you know, you were successful? Like you said to yourself, you know, I can get a nice apartment. I know you drive a nice car. Like, at what point did you kind of give yourself the credit and the ability to, you know, say, I'm successful?
I think all the material things that I bought over the years was really just to fill my childhood gap of like, I didn't really get to have much as a kid. So now that I could, let me see what it's like to have the ABC. But I could tell everyone here that the fulfillment actually didn't come from that. The fulfillment was having the mobility to do things that you want. I think that's what makes people successful, right? Like you work all that job and all that hours in order to give yourself money to buy food and like travel and stuff. Now, if you have plenty of money to buy yourself the mobility to eat whatever you want and fly wherever you want to do and maybe work today and not work tomorrow, that I think is fulfillment for me. And that's what I think is successful in being a business owner. It's not working more hours, it's actually finding more ways to make yourself multiply by building a great company, having enough money to do what you want to do. That to me is success. And there's not really a number to it. It's not like, oh, I need to hit 50 M's and call it a day. It's as long as I'm able to do that and I don't feel constrained by it, I think I'm pretty okay. I'm pretty successful in that sense. But there's always a bigger fish to fry. There's always a bigger level that you want to get to. And I think success is a long-term thing, not like you hit it once and you're never successful again or you're successful forever. You have to constantly climb up of like, okay, I got this now, level 1. What's level 2? What's level 3? And boss level is having a family and doing that. So I applaud a lot of founders who are able to, you know, have a family, have 2 kids and still go out and be a founder. That's absolutely incredible.
I'm always so impressed. So would you agree that, you know, a part of you that knows, hey, like these material things don't matter. It's just about like maybe filling a gap of my youth that I was like, you know, I saw everyone else have it. I didn't have it. I want to make sure I can get it for myself. But do you believe that like you actually have to like get those things to realize that you don't want them?
I think it's different for everyone. I like to get things as milestones. You know, I got this watch to commemorate launching Doe. You know, the dial as the same color as our logo.
You bought it when you launched the business or when the business started making money?
Started making money. Launched it, started making money.
I'm going to start a business. I'm going to buy myself a gift first.
No, not at all. First year was tough. But I think once we hit our first $1 million year, we're like, okay, I have some money to buy myself something nice. So I got myself something nice for my birthday to like commemorate. Beautiful. And I know the values got retained, right? the car and whatnot, I was like, okay, I hit this point of my life. Let's reward myself. But I wouldn't look at any one of these things as signs of success. For me, it's very sentimental. Like I do it based on milestones.
There's a story to it.
Yeah, I don't want to just buy just to buy it.
I'm the same way, by the way. Like this has a story to it. All my things, they all have a story to it. Because then I can get emotionally attached. Otherwise, it's like, I don't have a feeling. And one of my, it's funny, my mentor, he bought a new Ferrari. So he called me, he's like, you gotta come see the car. And I'm like, I've never been in a Ferrari. So I'm like, I'm driving, So I get over to his house and he takes me for a spin. He's like, so what do you think? And I was like, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if I like Ferrari. Ferraris are not for me. I don't need a Ferrari. I don't need, I'm good with what I got. I don't need a Ferrari.
Yeah.
And he looked at me with like the most disgusted face of all time. And he's like, you can't say you don't want to own a Ferrari until you own a Ferrari. And at first I thought he was just being a little bit arrogant, but there's something to it. Yeah. There's something like, you have to achieve something. You have to be able to do something to realize, it doesn't mean that much to you.
Yeah.
Like I always wanted a Rolex when I was 18, 19, because all my friends got them for their dad and we just couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
So first thing I did after we sold the company November 21, literally December 7th, I flew down to Miami and I scavenged for one, but I wanted it retail and I found one. I found a Wimbledon. I won't let anyone touch it. It's like, it's my thing. And I got a Rolex and I wore it everywhere. Every photo I was like this, and people are like, was this guy so douche, like such a douche, I'm like, no, I worked for this. And then now just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
But I have, it's almost like I earned the right to say, I don't care. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, don't go to the I don't care yet. First, get it, see if you like it.
Yeah.
See how you feel about it. Then say, you know what? I don't need it.
Yeah. I respect that.
Right?
Yeah.
There's like a magic to it, to like almost like you gotta own the Ferrari to decide that Ferraris are not for you in a way.
It's a tangible thing that you feel of like, okay, I made it. I could feel this thing that I'm driving in. And maybe it'll wear off in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. Yeah. But I think you definitely need to try it before you knock it.
So you're doing a bunch of stuff. You're a serial entrepreneur. You got a lot on your plate. I have a friend. I was telling them about your business, and he was like, "Doesn't he do this? Doesn't he do that?" I said, first of all, not only does he does everything, but he does it at a high level. I don't know how he does it, And so, talk me through how are you navigating multiple things. One thing I admire is how fast you build a team around you. Like Jason's launching something within like 2 days, full team, rocking, rolling, SOPs dialed. Like if I text you about it, I'm already in a group chat 3 seconds later with like the 4 people running the operation and it's dialed. Is that something you learned? Like how did you start? How did you know? And then how do you continue to do this? It's unbelievable.
I believe in speed. Like you just gotta get shit done. I call everyone like you don't really have a title. Your job is to get shit done. Like if we have a same goal right now that we're kicking towards, our title is getting that ball to the goal.
Right.
And that's how I rally everyone. Like I'm not above or beneath anyone. I'm in there doing the work. I will do that work for a while and train myself and the people before I go on and let them do it themselves. I got really lucky that I had a really good team from early on that I just kept rolling into every single new business I run.
Magic.
My CO right now was my supplier agent on Alibaba.
No way.
10 years ago, he was my agent on Alibaba. We became best friends.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what? Quit whatever job you're at. Come with me. And he's been with me for 10 years. Like I watch his kids grow up.
Get out.
And I'm younger than him. I'm 10 years younger than him. So this guy believed in some silly 17-year-old kid. He was 27. I was 17. He believed in me and be like, yo, okay, I'll come help you. I'll work for you. And it's people like that that really allow me to do what I do. When I say, how do I build this, is how do we build this?
Wow.
We have so many more people like him who just made a bet on me, and I always make sure that they're taken care of. And
when it comes to building those teams, right? Because I'm like sad now because I remember my girl, Rita, that I worked with for 7 years at Hush. I haven't followed up with her. I'm going to go text her after this to make sure maybe she'll come work for me. Is that something you've just always naturally done, or is that something that you're just mindful of when building relationships? Because that's a superpower, to be long-term with people that you meet. I know some people, they're assholes to their supplier, they just think it's a random name. Like that. Then I'm like, yeah, go meet them. Then you'll see who you're talking to. They're actually a real person. And it sounds like you've always just been like, when you meet people and you work with them, you're like, hey, this can be forever.
Yeah.
And is that something you've always done, or just like by chance?
Yeah. I believe that it really takes a village to get what things to get these things done. And I looked at them as a person. I look at, are their values and morals great? Do they have a strong foundation that they're walking on? Are they honest? Are they ambitious? Are they hungry? And are they better at things that I'm not good at? And if they tick all these boxes, even if they're not that good at what I need them to do yet, but they have the drive and ambition and the bandwidth to learn, I put them in there and we'll build together. And so I've never really hired someone right off the rip 6-figure salary. I've hired people who are just getting into it, really good at it, but like they might not have the recognition yet. I bring them in to build a young team. So everyone's been with me for a while, but it means that I'm able to teach them to wear a lot more hats than if I just hire a director of marketing who only does one thing and one thing only. You know, everyone here is doing multiple hats.
Wow. And would you say that that's helped you build multiple businesses?
Yeah. And they're all wizards at multiple things. Like I have a guy who can do the IT front end, and then he just learned how to code. And then one day, so this is
like
a story
you're building
I
an army.
I want to tell you one of my favorite team members, Spencer. He's been with me for 6 years now, and I found him on Upwork. I found him on Upwork because my previous head of operation left all of a sudden, and I was like, I'm in Gorgeous replying to tickets. I'm trying to track my POs. I'm doing forecast. I'm doing freaking everything. And so I went on Upwork and I found a VA. And I'm sure a lot of people listen to this have found a lot of VAs. Out of 100 of them, maybe 1 or 2 is really, really good. This guy somehow was just really freaking good. I looked at his resume. I was like, you do customer support, but you also seem to be really interested in tech. Can I pay you to learn Gorgeous and how to automate Gorgeous and write scripts to automate our customer support team? For the next 7 days, I'll pay you to learn. And then afterwards, bring me a proposal for how you're going to do it. And 7 days later, he gave me 70-something macros for every single situation that a client might have with our brand based on our email sequences of delivered, but it was lost, or it was lost before at the stage, or canceled but hasn't fulfilled yet. Every single scenario, he went through it and he built a macro for it. I was like, great. And then once I needed to build a landing page, instead of hiring an agency $3K to build a landing page, I was like, go learn Replo.
No way.
This guy is so freaking good at learning anything.
He's like an AI.
Like, he is like an AI. So I was like, whatever company I built from now on to forever, I want you to be there by my side. And it's one of my best friends. It's just some guy you wouldn't expect. Met him? Yeah, I flew back to Hong Kong. I flew him out to be with me for a few weeks. I'm taking him and his friends out to Bali next week. Like I really want to make sure that they feel cherished and feel important, right? Like they're just not just another VA that you hire on Upwork and you can dispose of them. They're real human beings and they have a lot of potentials. And if you find the right person, you really gotta give them all the tools they can to succeed.
This is if you're listening to this, this is a masterclass in relationship building, which is, I believe, is at the forefront of a lot of what you've accomplished. To be able to not only sell people or give people the opportunity to believe in the vision, but actually uphold it. That's the part I believe so many people miss. You know, people are really like, there's a lot of visionaries out there, right? This is what it's going to be. This is how it's going to do. And they can sell people. People buy in. It's exciting, that energy, it's momentum.
Right.
But then as a business owner, it's then your job to fulfill and do the things you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
And you continually have done that for the people in your circle year after year after year, to the point where they'll really never leave you. You know, where you're like, when you say, hey, we're going to take you and your friends to Bali this year, you don't make an excuse. You're like, yo, we're going next week.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? Some people are like, oh, I can't. I got to this. I got to that. You're like, no, we're going to do it. And people underestimate the value of that. When people can 100% feel secure in their relationships, yes, but also in their business relationships, where they know that their boss has their back and he's going to outwork, he's going to always provide, he's going to make something happen, whether it's in this business or the next business, you create a feedback loop that is impossible to stop.
And I think that's really our moat. We have really good people.
Wow.
And I'm so grateful to my team. And I think that every founder's job outside of the vision is to be the provider of resources to your team. Like you have to find people who are A players and you got to equip them with an Iron Man suit. You know, Iron Man
Oof.
has a lot of suits, right? A lot of Ironmans now. There's multiple types of Iron Man, and I like to think like my team is like that. And I'm like, yo, what do you need, right? You need this person to help. I'll hire that person. Do you need this tool? I got this. I got you this tool. So I put them through coaching. They might need help with sales. I put them through coaches that can do this. So like,
Wow.
I want them to learn. I want them to upskill, and I feel that if I'm able to provide that resource to them, not only do they do better work, but they're willing to stay with us more because no other employer that I know would be able to give them as much as what I think I'm giving them.
Has there ever been someone that has left you and unexpectedly that you were like devastated by because of how much you invested into them?
Yeah, absolutely. But I also do believe that we're just a jumping pad. There's always got to be someone who is 100 times bigger than me. And I hope, this is my dream, that when people leave me, they go to some place that's way bigger than me. Because that shows that I did a good job preparing them for that. Like, yes, it was a very sad departure. It sucks that we had to split ways. But if you went on to do something even greater than what you did here, I'm proud of you. I feel like I did my job as a founder. Yes, it sucks for a little bit, but it's like you almost don't want your girl to date down after you. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Leo DiCaprio. Yes.
like, please don't date down. So that's how I feel, you know?
Yeah, it's so true. Don't date down. That's magical, dude. One thing, wow, this is a masterclass in how to properly build teams and systems. And it's emphasizing not only the people, but investing in your people, and not just, oh, I spend an hour with them every week. It's like, that's not investing in your people. It's all aspects of their development. It's the training, it's the commitment, it's giving them room to go and do something bigger. And then it's also growing fast enough to support their growth. Because sometimes you outgrow your people or your people outgrow you. And that balance is hard to execute. Wow, what a fucking masterclass. We have a question that we ask at the end of every podcast, which is crazy because we've been flying. We can do this forever.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting question that a lot of people love. And you could take a minute if you need to think about it, or you can just rip what comes to you. So here's the question. When you answer it, you're going to say what age of Jason you go to. But the question is, if we can bring younger Jason, you choose the age, and we put a chair right here at the front and we sit him in front of us, and you get a moment to share one piece of advice, something that you would tell your younger self, essentially. How old is a Jason sitting here, and what would you tell him?
I would say 23. 23 is where I feel like it was a pivotal time for me. I was just figuring shit out and honestly not really knowing what I really want to do yet. Like, I was doing great in e-com, but I was deep in imposter syndrome of like, am I good enough? Like, can I do this, right? And I think the advice to him is that there's no one else that can do what you're about to do better than you. Whatever it is. Like, you are that person that can make it. You made it so far. And whatever you're about to do next, there's no one on earth that can do it better than you.
That is so powerful. And I want people to remember that at 23, you've already not only left the country, went out on your own, bet on yourself multiple times, but also achieved what many people would say is significant success. And still at that age, you would go back and remind yourself that that you still are that guy. Very, very powerful. Is there one thing that you'd want to share with the hundreds of people that listen to this podcast, hopefully thousands by the time they see this?
Yeah.
What would you say?
If you want to do it, go freaking do it. There are so many people who are pondering, listen to this podcast. Can I do this? Should I do this? And if you feel like you're ready and you really want to do it, take action, because so many people wait way too long. Yeah.
It's funny. I was chatting with a friend of mine, just explaining to him like what I've learned about communities. Because I was a product guy. Now I'm in communities. It's been kind of 2 years. And he's like, dude, you should have just stayed in product. You're really good at it. You've done it already. You have past success. You could have raised money easily, all this stuff. And I was like, dude, I can do anything.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about, dude? I could do anything. And he's like, no, you don't understand. Like, and I'm like, I get it. Sometimes the math needs to make sense for people to take action. But a true entrepreneur, the math doesn't always need to make sense.
It's got feelings.
Just do it. Just go do it. You'll learn as you go. And I think there's beauty in the ignorance. There's beauty in being naive and not knowing what's on the other side of that rock. The reason I won't do another ecom product because I know the pain that's waiting for me on the other side of that email.
Yeah, you
right?
have to be ignorant.
I don't know the shit that's coming my way in this. So it's like beautiful because I get to deal with it when it comes. And so there is beauty in just actually not knowing, not being prepared.
I think that's fun.
Yeah.
Like, why should you know how the movie will go? Just freaking be in it,
exactly.
Right?
No one wants to watch a movie twice in a row.
Exactly.
Because you already know the plot. Jason, you're a legend, dude. Thank you for coming in. Where are you living right now?
I'm in New York.
You're in New York?
Yeah. Come by sometimes.
We'll be there. We're doing an event in June. So we'll see you. We'll see you in June. I appreciate you being a member of the club, a big advocate. One of the main reasons we even started this in the first place.
Appreciate it.
I think the community is lucky to just have you in general. I know your videos go viral and they're good for business, but I think you put a ton into other people. And Chris and I always joke, like Jason's one of those guys, you just ask him, like you ask him a question or you ask him for something, boom, he gives it to you right away, connects you right away. And I think that's a testament to who you are. You're a very giving individual, and that's why you've been able to build what you built, bro. So
thanks for having me. This is so fun.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Founder to Founder podcast. And I have one favor, just one favor to ask. It's the only favor I'll ever ask from you. And if you liked what you listened to please like, subscribe, and please just leave a comment. Let us know what you think, how we can make it better. We are all in on delivering value to you. And all we ask in return is that you hit that subscribe. It goes a long way for what we're trying to build here. And as always, we post an episode every single Wednesday. So stay tuned and thank you for tuning in.